Answer Me This with Kwabena Ansah and me, Rod Corp. Kwabena, how are you doing this week?
Oh, Rod, I am doing really well. I'm actually, out in Sydney, just attending an Australian Institute of Company Directors course here, and got a scholarship to do some governance work. So, yeah, it's been a good week, but looking forward to coming back to the Outback.
When we last spoke, we talked about the Rugby Championship match between Australia and South Africa. I wanted you to give me a prediction. Are you prepared to do that yet?
Rod, listen, for you, absolutely. For you, I'll give you a prediction after a bit of research that I've done, Rod. But look, let me tell you what I've done over this week in terms of my research. I've listened to both South African coaches, Rassie, and my new favourite coach, as you know, Joe Schmidt, talking both about their lineups for tonight's game. And look, let me tell you, it's going to be a contest, and a lot of that contest will be within the game. The strategy needed by both teams is going to be an in-game strategy, and there'll be moving pieces throughout the entire game. For South Africa, their starting lineup has incredible depth, and it's mixed with individuals with single caps. Compare that to the Wallabies with a longer list of individuals with single caps. Now, for listeners who might not be aware, SANZAAR, the governing body, confirmed this week that several law variations will be rolled out during the championships. What that means, let me give you some of the variations, Rod, because again, I've done my research. As part of the trial, 20-minute red cards will be used while a countdown clock will be introduced for scrums and lineouts. And I'll touch on about that later, what it means for Australia. And the time permitted for a conversion is reduced down to 60 seconds. Now, crooked lineouts, this is particularly important. Throws will not be penalised if uncontested, and there will be greater protection of the scrum half at the base of the scrum, ruck, and the maul. Now, answer me this, Rod. With all those rule changes happening tonight, do you think, with Australia's, I guess, a lot of our young uncapped players playing, that they'll be successful?
Well, they could be. It's an equal change, their new rules to both teams.
Now, I agree with you on that, Rod. I think there's going to be both teams figuring things out. But I guess where I'm going with this is that Australia's lineup will have familiar pairings in the back line with Hunter Paisami and Len Ikatu will continue their partnerships in the midfield at inside and outside centre. So it's good that we're having a bit of consistency within our inside and outside centre plays, because, like I'll touch on a bit later, our back line is I would say, the way to go forward. My biggest concern for Australia, though, is our lack of experience. The Wallabies starting 15 only have a combined cap figure of, guess this, Rod, 348. This is compared to the Springboks' 836 cap test. Answer me this, Rod. Do you think that's a significant concern for us?
No.
No. Rod, with 836 cap tests compared to 348, there's a significant, learning gap for some of these players.
Some of the South Africans might be past the use-by date.
That's tough. They just came back off a World Cup, Rod.
Yeah, worn out.
We're not ageist here, Rod. We're not ageist here. But no, I do take your point. They might be a bit battered and bruised, but guess what? South Africa rested a number of their players against Portugal. So I imagine many of these older players, as you're saying, with high caps, are fresh to play. That's what I mean by depth within the South African rugby program. Only 6 players were retained in the squad from the 64-21 win over Portugal at the end of July. And it's still, I guess, that much cap experience playing at the elite level. That's why, from my perspective, I'm looking at the box winning. I'm really looking at the box winning. I'm expecting the game to really manifest in the second half, Rod. It may come down to penalties in that Australia versus in the Australia versus Georgia game. Australia conceded 4 penalties from the 66th minute. Now, it's a tight game, and the reality is that South Africa, if that were to occur, will make us pay. Like I've said before, Rod, rugby is a game of inches and tactics. Joe Smith, you still have my approval with what you're doing, but I really love what the Boks have done in the construction of their team, and I really understand kind of the deep connection that all the players have with each other. And Razi is the type of coach that expects your best and is quite a frank individual. And with the new changes, especially around the scrums, and it being quite a physical match, I just see the experience of South Africa beating Australia. Not by much, but that's my prediction.
All right, and of course it's to be played today at 2:30 Suncorp Stadium.
Yep. Good old Vegas, Queensland. Great venue for rugby. It's a sold-out event, Rod. I wish I was there, but I'll be watching it on the TV screen like everyone else.
Through one of those 9 or Stan Sports or Go or somewhere like that. 2:30 today.
Yeah.
So Novak won an Olympic gold medal.
Finally. Now retire.
Yeah, well, it seems to be a path of the course at the moment.
Yeah, look, I mean, Novak, you have done a phenomenal job. Novak said at the press conference, it's the single biggest success of his career. He said he doesn't know about his future. He said it's been a long journey and dreaming about holding a gold medal. He wants to celebrate. Retire. Like Novak, just walk away from it. You have done a phenomenal job. I guess the big thing is, let's just look at his achievements, Rod. Novak has won 24 Grand Slams. Rafa, 22, and Federer, 20. Novak's won 7 ATP finals. Rafa, 0, Federer, 6. Novak's won 40 ATP Masters. Rafa, 36, Federer, 28. Olympic gold medals. Novak 1, Rafa 1, Federer 0. For those who didn't add that up, Novak has won 72 titles, and Rafa has 59, and Federer has 54. Novak is clearly the GOAT of tennis. Let me repeat that again. Novak is clearly the GOAT of tennis. Finish on top, Novak. What do you think, Rod?
I think you're probably spot on there, and everyone said no one would beat Federer's record.
And that's exactly it. So, if you're answering me this, Rod, how can people dispute that Novak is the greatest of all time?
Can't.
They really can't. And I think, but there's a PR image issue with Novak, and his team have failed to bring the world along for his remarkable career. I genuinely think that the public will argue that Federer is the king, Rafa is the prince, and Novak is maybe a duke, but in some people's eyes he's a villain. And I think that's an unfair critique of him. I've just listed all the wins that he has had over his career, and he's got 72 titles in total. I just don't quite understand why people won't give him his flowers. But listen, Novak, if you're listening, retire, finish up, end your career on a high. You've won a gold medal. It's a win.
Yeah, it's all to do with that vaccination stuff and all that. That's why people seem in a lesser light. But hey, as you've stated, he's won the awards. He's won the championships.
Undisputed. No one can take away his titles away from him. And I think that's the clear thing that we need to look at. The guy is an elite athlete. He is truly he is the greatest in tennis right now. And, those titles will stand. Rest, Novak, rest on a beautiful beach in Serbia, or like in the Mediterranean. Enjoy your life. I'm here for that for you, Novak. I'm here for that.
He could buy a couple of islands.
I know. With all those, next time I'll have to check his winnings.
Now, to women's sport, and just one word, Fox sisters, if you want two of them.
Fox sisters, amazing. It's so remarkable. I mean, Rod, do you have siblings?
I do have one.
Yeah, and I guess, I've got siblings too. And, I imagine being drawn together for one of the biggest races in your life, Olympics, and getting that news and saying, oh my goodness, we are competing against each other first heat, and, what do we do? And you're in the same room as well, figuring out your strategy. And then one of your sisters bows out at the beginning. I think the competitiveness from the older Fox sister just, I think, truly went out the door. I think they over-strategise. And that's the problem of, both sisters being remarkably good, that one they just should have focused on their own race themselves and just realised, hey, they might beat the other one, etc., and kind of just focus on that. And I felt devastated for the older Fox sister. She cried during her press conference, with Channel 9, and I was just like, devastated, because you build up your entire career, and then you can't, you just don't make it off the first round. But her younger sister, an amazing feat to get a gold medal. Amazing.
To gymnastics?
Oh, look, I mean, Simone Biles, the GOAT of women's gymnastics, fantastic. But, it was great just to see that Team USA, her and her teammates, the floor routine, Brazilian Rebecca Andrada, essentially got gold medal. And you had Simone Biles and her teammate Jordan Charles on either side on the podium, just, giving her flowers and bending down and then waving down. That's what the Olympics is about. And really just showing, humbleness and the amazing athletes just showing love to each other. Rod, it was something really good to see.
What about the high jump win for Australia?
Rod, I was up watching that. My goodness. I mean, it was an amazing feat. We had essentially Ukraine versus Australia. That's what it was at the final end. And just to watch the Ukrainian gold medalist in the end go through her routine. Now, Rod, she was clearly leaps and bounds ahead of everyone. She had so much height and bounce in some of her previous jumps that I was like, oh wow, you are the front runner for this. But what I liked about her routine, it's just consistent. She would finish off and then put on a bit of essentially a sleeping bag, put it on her, and then lay down on the floor and then just meditate in her spirit. In the Australian that came second, she had a great routine. She was so bubbly, so happily. She was great. But she would finish off her jump and then go right down where she could have gone better. Now, kids, I don't know if you're listening, but that's what you call diligent commitment and consistency. To get to that elite level, they were so consistent in their the way they actually went about their business and handled their business. It was fantastic to watch.
Very quickly into basketball.
The USA and the Serbia game. Team USA had everyone in America on the edge of their seat. It was only until the fourth quarter that they truly came out, the big three, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Chef Curry, as I like to say, really brought the team home. It was, I think everyone in the world was in a bit of a shock. They were around 24, at one point, 24 deficit lead by 24 points. And look, from my perspective, that big three, they're going to win the gold. I think they had the scare that they need to actually get their team going through and, locking in.
Good showing too by the Australian team.
Yeah, look, unfortunate. Paddy Mills, did you see the Paddy Mills shot?
Yeah, he's a remarkable man.
Amazing. Paddy Mills, again, come to Burke. It was an amazing shot. It was, unfortunately, we didn't win, but the quality of the side, we're only going to get better going forward for the Boomers. Now, Rod, did you want to talk about the Olympic tally board?
Yeah, go for it.
Didn't I, last time we spoke, Rod, Ansah Me This, didn't I say Australia needed to beat the UK to be successful?
Yes, you did.
Rod, do you know where we're at?
Last time I looked, it was 4th.
Rod, Australia is coming 3rd. We are coming 3rd. Great Britain, they're coming 5th. Rod, we are in a very, very good place at the moment. 18 gold medals. If we break the 20, that will be something to behold. We've had a great showing, not just in the major sports that have a lot of top-tier funding, but in the minor sports as well, right through to skateboarding. So I think this Olympics, there really needs to be a look at some of those top-tier sports that get a lot of funding, like rowing, and maybe we need to divest some of that money to some of the lower-hanging fruit sports, Tier 2 and Tier 3 sports, that we are quite competitive in. And I just think some money needs to go down there. But an amazing feat at the moment, and looking great.
Yes, per head of population, we would be way out in front, one would think.
We would be number 1, actually. I saw this little Instagram post about that. Australia would be number 1, so fancy that.
And we know we are number 1. You have yourself a good afternoon watching the rugby, and we'll catch up again next week.
Well, thank you so much, Rod, and look forward to bringing more Ansah Me This.
Kwabena Ansah and me, Rod Call.